I can only apologize, folks. Sir Rakefire has interrupted the match. We're going to try to restore some kind of order here, get him out of the pit. Foxy, go to commercial.
Whiskey highball, please. The Jazz Daredevil Whiskey Highball. Hand-canned by me, the Jazz Daredevil.
I just wanted to see if that commercial would work. I do want to collect a bunch of fake commercials to play. I want to make a gag out of the fact that I'm not trying terribly hard to monetize this thing. Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. I do kind of like playing the generic music in the background. Not bad. Thank you all for joining me. This is WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. Good to see you, Wireless Mike. Good to see you, the Anti-Corporatist. Uh, Good to see you, Groove Dragon. Looney Tunes 9000. Great to see y'all. I tell you what. Do I actually know the Jazz Daredevil? No. I wanted to mess with you a little bit there, but no, I have never met H. John Benjamin. I have, however, been watching him and, funny enough, Sam Cedar, because they've been frequent partners in crime since I was a kid. Since I was a kid. I was a huge fan of home movies. I had no idea who made it back when I saw it. It was not as easy to get familiar with the creators of your favorite content. I also quite enjoyed Gary Busey. What is I'm with Busey, which is another Sam Cedar joint. That's my understanding. Um, so I feel some claim to the content they make. I don't really have a right to it, but I feel like I do because I've been a fan of theirs for so long, and so I behave as though I'm not going to get in trouble for playing their stuff. We'll see. We'll see. I can't hold it against them if they copyright claim me because I will have done whatever they say. Groove Dragon, yes, in the mood. I think you've got the right mindset for tonight's show. Here's the deal, gang. I just want to talk about spirituality for a little bit. I want to do maybe a quick, maybe a long call-in show, probably quick. And I want to talk about what you believe and why. And I don't want to, well, I guess I do want to grill people, but I want to do so from a friendly place. And I want to be grilled by friends. And I also want to pitch what I see what I see as our purpose, what we should collectively be working towards as a species that is aware it exists. And I want to get your take on it. So in a little bit, I'm going to share the link to this stream and invite anybody who wants to call in and talk about their spirituality or lack thereof, but preferably I'd like some spiritual cats to call in. Tell me about what you believe and why you believe it, and do you have conflict with what I'm going to put out there? Here's what I believe. I can't honestly say whether or not there is an afterlife or a creator. But I suspect the answer is no to both of those things. I've seen no evidence of this. Not a literal afterlife. I do believe in digital ghosts. I think the impression that you make here on Earth is longer lasting in many ways than is accounted for. And the great sadness of death is not that your presence disappears from the world or from existence forever, but that you lose the ability to be aware of it. You lose the ability to do new things. But some part of you does stick around. Some of my favorite authors died 200 years before I was born. Some part of you does stick around. You continue to influence the great weave of life forever. In some cases, in others, you fade away. but I do think we are so interwoven, and I call it a weave for that reason. We are so interwoven that we simply don't know the effects we will have. I ask you to consider this. I was depressed once upon a time, and I was in the garage. This was a long time ago. And the lights that I had turned on went out in the garage, and I found myself very afraid. Not that some creature was going to materialize in the dark, but I was quiet and I was in the dark, and I thought, this is all of death except for my awareness. And if I fall asleep, except for the fact that I will theoretically wake again, it is no different than death. And then I heard crickets. There were apparently crickets in the garage waiting for the light to turn off, and when the light turned off, because I suppose a timer was involved, they started chirping. And it pulled me out of that funk. It made me realize that there are things that I was unaware of just around the corner in that garage, and that there must be fascinating things that I am unaware of just around the corner in life. I, to this day, am grateful to those anonymous crickets. Their lifespan is such that I know they are long dead, but they are remembered by a being that will live many hundred times the length that they can. They will continue to be remembered, likely for the rest of my life, however long that is. They have an effect on the world, and now you're hearing about those crickets. And an anecdote: their effects have crossed state lines, country lines. We are aware of them. That's a comfort to me. Even if you thought you lived an insignificant life, I bet you didn't. I bet the effects of your actions will continue on long after you are gone. That's a comfort, but it doesn't deal with the fundamental sadness. And I'm going to share a link in a moment because I'd like people to call in. But right now, I'll give you my pitch for how things seem to be from my perspective. The fundamental sadness is that we will all stop experiencing eventually, and we can delay it, but it is a simple fact. We're given about 100 years. I don't feel like that's enough. I would like very much for us all to strive as hard as we can, to spare everyone that we can that sadness. And I think, by the way, I think one day we will get there. We are nothing, from my perspective, nothing but chemical reactions that have become aware of themselves. I think if you cut off your arm and replace it with a plastic and metal substitute, you are no less of a person than you were. I think if the chemical reactions of your brain get replaced with electrical reactions, you're no less of a person. If a lobe of your brain is misfiring and causing seizures, and you have in 200 years a lab grown replacement made, I don't think you're any less of a person. You are simply, from my perspective, a continuity of consciousness. And I hope that we put aside our nonsense as a species soon, and we don't fight over made up stuff like the color of one's skin or the arbitrary line in the sand that we drew to establish a border, and instead turn our efforts to extending life as long as possible until, when your cells divide, the telomeres don't get any shorter because you took a pill when you were 28, and you will be, in terms of health, 28 as long as you care to be. Who cares about the aesthetics? Maybe we go like Star Trek and we allow ourselves to age gracefully. But the point being, I don't want us to be at the mercy of the hourglass anymore. I think that will happen. I just think it's going to happen. I think we are intelligent enough that we could one day make a generation of people that do not die unless there is some great tragedy, like a tremendous accident or a war, so on and so forth. And I think we will be remembered. This is both my sadness and my hope. We will be remembered as those tragic and heroic generations that were the first sparks of consciousness amongst matter, that stayed alight just long enough to realize we would fade, but that burned bright enough to start a fire which burned for eternity. And the thing about it that makes it hopeful to me is that if we work hard, and we're very lucky, we will, all the things that make us who we will be remembered by a generation that does not die. We will be the crickets who are remembered by beings who live many times longer than we do. And I think that is the closest we can get to immortality. That's my atheist spiritual view of the world. What is your view of the world? How do you feel about the way things are when you look around? What conclusions have you come to? That's what I want to know tonight. That's what I want to hear from you. And I'll say this: don't be shy. I will challenge your view, uh, in the hopes that we collectively make something better. I hope you'll challenge mine, or ask me questions about it. I'll do the same to you. Here is the link. Call in if you'd like. You can use that link. Tell me about what you think of the world. Do you think we will one day make it to immortality? Do you think that we should? If you are, for example, a devout Christian, what do you think of cybernetics? What happens if you replace all lobes in the brain with artificial ones that never degrade? Have you denied God a soul? Have you arbitrarily supplied one to God, and now there is just a thing that resembles God's creation wandering around the earth? What are your thoughts? Do let me know. I'd like to hear it. The anticorporatus, like the sands in the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. Yes, truly, yes. Every single one. Right now, it's hard to have a lazy day. Can you imagine how lovely it will be when you can take a lazy decade? I really need to find myself. So I'm going to go put my old vehicle in orbit around Mars for a while and just read a lot of books, do some blow, and think about life. Doesn't that sound lovely? Love that intro to that soap. Yes, Rextract. That is a good one. Groove Dragon. Save her life. Suck the marrow out. Yes. I'm all for that as well. Gray Sand Dragon. Hello there. Is it possible to become a burst of radiation and just race across the universe looking at things? I think, well, first of all, yes. I mean, it is. We could all become a burst of radiation real quick if there's a big enough catastrophe near us. But point taken. Can you maintain your consciousness as these various forms? I'll give you the real hippie woo answer that I truly do believe, which is yes. I think you could make a machine entirely out of different temperatures of water if you had enough time to figure out such a problem. I think yes, you could have sentient radiation that is able to observe the area around it. It's just a thing built out of different materials. If you would have asked somebody 300 years ago, can a creature be made out of copper and steel? They wouldn't know. Well, maybe they would know steel, copper and iron. They would say no. How would it breathe? But look at what Boston Dynamics is doing. Look at their assistant robot dogs. We're not too far off from plugging in a software algorithm that has these things just wandering around, helping us out here and there. Greenery to smash the machinery, says Groove Dragon. I wrote or I am writing, I suppose, I don't know if it's, I'm writing a sci-fi book. And in it, there is a concept of a quasi-religious group of atheists called Thessians. And the Thessians are named such because of the ship of Theseus. Here's how the ship of Theseus works. Theseus has a ship. It's sailing through the ocean. Every couple of weeks, the crew has to pry off an old board because it's starting to rot through, and they replace it with a new board. But the crew saves all the old boards and the old nails and the old rope. And eventually, somebody takes all those old scraps. Once the ship has been entirely replaced with new boards, it takes all those old scraps and it rebuilds the ship of Theseus. And now there's two of them floating in the water. And the question is, which is the ship of Theseus? Is it the one that was totally replaced over time, or is it the one built out of the original material? In this book, one of the factions trying to have their say through violence is, because I'm a child at heart, is the Thesians, and they are people who seek to replace all of their organics with infinitely lasting um, uh, robot parts, basically. But I think we're not terribly far off from having these kinds of philosophical conversations. And I would like, just like I want to have conversations about money before there's serious money on the table. Oh well, now, well now I have to withdraw that because there is money on the table. But before I want to have these conversations with religious types well in advance. I want to know when we're talking about the concept, just the general concept of becoming technological immortals or taking pills that end aging or whatever it is that future generations come up with because we provided an environment for them to learn. What's the religious take? Let me give a thank you, though, to an actual cloud. Thank you so much, an actual cloud, with the very kind $5 super chat. The more super chats one gives, the more likely that one gets to heaven. I do not sign off on that comment for the record, uh, even though it's true. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. The more super chats one gives, the more likely that one gets to heaven. Oh, Pinkerbell, I so agree. Those robot dogs activate my fight or flight real bad. There is something spooky about them. There really is. Jess Rush, good to see you. Did I see Michael Skiles? Michael Skiles, hello. Michael Skiles asks, so living longer or becoming immortal? I think it's essentially, I think first living longer, then becoming truly immortal is our destiny. It's just it then depends on what level of mortality you're talking about. I think we can escape the clock. Certainly, think of it just like a video game. There used to be a very common trend to arbitrarily make everything more difficult by having timed levels. And then we just chose other losing conditions that were more fun, that allowed you to enjoy the experience a little bit more, at least in my humble opinion, and apparently a lot of other gamers too. I think we'll get rid of timed levels with life. I think you'll be able to take as long as you want to do whatever you want because you will have a very long time and a near infinite amount of space. We are limited in the near future by how much gravity we can wrangle, but for the purposes of a paltry few billion beings, an infinite amount of space. Um, but it will start by the natural life. I mean, we already have by default expanded our lifespan uh, manyfold, and we will continue to do that with more and more intentionality until a 200-year-old human is not a bizarre thing, and then eventually we will get to a point where we plop our consciousness, our ever continuing consciousness, down into something that does not expire from time. And then we'll have further steps we can take, backups of ourselves, which activate when tragedy strikes. Your death throes being a signal that sends out your saved progress in life out to wherever you are reborn into. If we choose to go that route. If you are of a philosophy that goes that route. I think many will simply say, "No, no, no. You get one and that's it. You get one body. You are a chemical reaction and anything beyond that chemical reaction, beyond, medicine to keep the meat version of you going is just a robot vampire basically. It's your corpse walking around thinking it's you, but it's not you." When Christianity dies, we dance all hours of the night, says Looney Tunes 9000. I won't. I'll be a little bit sad. Um, I've been, I've had a lot of devout Christians as adversaries. um, and it's funny. You can fight someone so often that you develop an affection for them, and that's where I've come to. Um, I fundamentally understand. I think I understand the need for religion, and in the earth we've made, in the civilization that we have, we offer no true alternative. And for that reason, I don't want to deny that comfort to anybody. Even if I turned out to be totally right and I had proof, I would be sad. The letter hack. Sorry, typing with one hand while setting up my stream. Oh man, oh man. Oh, and we got wireless mic. We're gonna tune in a second. Rex Trek. I was raised Catholic, now an atheist, and Trekkie. Yeah, like most people that went to Catholic school, I too am an atheist. Wireless Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I hear you wonderfully. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I couldn't tell if this if this was going to let me actually use my mic or if I was going to have to go with the damn laptop mic again. How's it going,
Oh,
man?
it's going good. I'm in a funky spiritual mood. How you doing?
I'm in a perpetual funky spiritual mood. Um,
Fair enough. You do seem like the kind of a meditative cat, you know? That doesn't
eh,
surprise me.
I don't know if I would put it that way. I don't know that I've ever actually meditated, but I do think about things a lot, and I think I've mentioned before in chat and in comments that I grew up with one side of my family being very, very uh, Southern Baptist. So there's a lot to unpack there because, in my opinion, it's not the best religion, but it is one of over 300 some odd denominations of Christianity before you even start counting, any of the Catholic denominations or, I mean,
Oh,
there's so many of them. And part of the reason I quit going to the church that I grew up in was because I learned that there were that many different just Christian faiths. And the fact that most all of them are basically arguing that all of the other ones are wrong somehow, and that
yes.
if you're not following their specific interpretation or the interpretation of previous pastors or church leaders, then you're doing it wrong, and you're probably going to go to hell. And I don't ascribe to that, and I stopped going to that church because I couldn't get answers to questions that I was asking at like 11 years old that didn't answer contradictions. It didn't clarify anything for me. It didn't make me feel any more comfortable when the people around me started speaking in tongues and falling backwards into each other's arms and all that. I mean, churches are very different. Every denomination is different, but here's the thing. Most all of them, can't say can't say all of them, but most all of them, they all tend to share a lot of the same tenets.
All
They
right, hit
tend to
me.
share a lot of the same uh, stories and mythology, and they try to explain different parts of histories, periods in time, including creation. And I'm talking everything from Christians and Muslims and Catholics, and but to include Native American mythology and um, uh, there's there's so many of them. They all share the same basic story that they're trying to tell. But the thing that I try to argue to most people, especially people who are super devout and creationists and literalists, which I am not. I'm going to be very clear. I am not a literalist. I am not an evangelical. I don't believe that every single word in the Bible is 100% correct, and we have to believe it all. And if you don't, you're going to hell. I will say this though: Church of Christ people are just absolute the worst about that. They'll tell you right to your face that you're going to hell because you're not Church of Christ. Even if you're even like myself, growing up Southern Baptist, and if I went to church every Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and did public going door to door evangelizing, according to them I would still be going to hell because I'm not Church of Christ. That's part of what drew me away from the church. What I learned a
Yeah,
lot in
with those cats, I feel that either they don't truly understand what they're saying when they say you're going to hell, or they believe in a God which, regardless of whether or not they are correct in their assessment of God, is not one that should be followed. A being that would so casually send billions to eternal torture is not a good being,
I would
even
agree
if
with
it's a
that.
creator.
I'd agree with that, and that's why I don't ascribe to that religion. That's why the one that I grew up in, I mean, they have some pretty strange beliefs of their own. You know, they believe that any nocturnal animal, like snakes or owls or reptiles and wolves and stuff like that, are of Satan. That they were created by Satan, and they are, animals to be avoided and slaughtered, and because they're quote unquote evil. That never made sense to me because I learned in vacation Bible school as a child through those same people that all animals, every living thing on the planet was created by God. So how does that comport with the contradiction that wolves and nocturnal animals like possums or or owls or anything that crawls on its belly is of Satan? That makes no sense at all.
Yeah,
It's
made
completely
to suffer,
contradictory.
essentially.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But I mean, so between that and how judgmental things got and the weirder things got, just like the guy that you showed the video last night where he talked about how, when you're growing up in that kind of environment, the older you get, the weirder it seems to get, and the more detailed they get with their descriptions of these things and trying to scare you into being devout. I just got out of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't end my faith because I won't let anybody do that. My
Mm.
faith, one of the things that I learned going there as a child, one of the things that was clearest to me is the fact that that relationship is a deeply personal relationship, and it's not for someone else to judge, and it's not even the kind of thing that you're supposed to do as a public display. It was actually explained to me that that's wrong. To do it as some kind of big show, to show how devout I am and how pure I am, that I pray loudly in public over everybody, whether they want it or not. That's not Christian. That is not what I was taught is a good thing to do. You pray in private. You pray to yourself. You find a quiet place, much like meditation, where you can actually sit and think and concentrate on what you're putting out into
Yeah.
the universe, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything.
A spiritual moment should not be a marketing technique. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
What is your do you mind me asking about, details of your personal faith?
No, not at all. I don't mind
Uh,
talking about it. I'm just not going to go around pushing it on anybody.
no, 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 I'm asking
So,
from a place of genuine curiosity.
no, absolutely.
Uh, do you believe in a specific, religion such as Christianity?
I mean, I because I was raised in it, I call myself a Christian because
Mm.
that's the faith that I am m- more familiar with. But
Oh,
as I got
sure.
older, I started looking into all kinds of things. Hindu, Buddhism, Muslim. I looked into different pagan beliefs. I've been friends with people who were all parts of these communities. I've never had any reason to be in conflict with people who were not of my faith.
Oh, sure.
I've never felt resentment. I've never been judgmental because that's another thing that I was taught. It's not our place to judge. And
To
and so I will talk with people and I'll converse and debate, however you want to call it. But I enjoy those kind of discussions because I tend to believe that, like, this is kind of what I was getting at earlier. I think all of the religions are basically trying to tell the same story, but they're
Mm.
telling them in a way, in a language, not only just the written or verbal language that's passed down, but in a community language, the kind of world that particular um, uh, society exists in, what part of the world, what kind of wildlife they have to contend with, what kind of weather do they have to exist in.
Fair point.
They're trying to explain it in a way that the people of that era and that time and place can grasp it. But the thing that most people seem to misunderstand is, regardless of what Bible it is, it's not meant to be a textbook. It's not scientific. You're trying to explain very technical. People who look at it now and they're like, okay, well, it doesn't comport with science. Obviously not. I personally,
Yeah.
science was I love science fiction, and science was one of my best subjects in schools. It's one of the only subjects that I really actually enjoyed sitting through and learning from. I am not a science denier in any way. I personally believe, I think that creation is possible, but I personally believe that evolution is the route that creation took. They're one and the same. I don't think that there's any conflict there because
Can we go with that for a moment?
sure.
Do you think, for example, imagine it is indeed the Big Bang followed by a soup of pre-life materials that
Mhm.
eventually become the first organisms. Do In your mind, would that simply be like that's God's hand? That congratulations, we found out the technique the painter used for the
Yeah,
brushstrokes. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the most likely. Uh, I think that I don't necessarily believe that it was done specifically to create us. I don't think that we are so special that it was specifically to create us and that being the outcome. I think that it was that the inevitability of a creation of beings like us was absolutely possible. Now depending on your own belief, and I know some people believe, they say we were created in his image. Well, that's not exactly narrowing down a description. Is God he? Is he she? Is he hermaphroditic? Is it just a bipedal form? Is it just the humanoid form? No, who knows? Is it necessarily even a physical image that they're talking about? Could it be the concept of thinking? Could it be the concept of the ability to feel empathy and put yourself in the position of other living beings to try to exhibit or receive some kind of understanding? The Bible has never really been technical. It's never been that precise, and I think it's that way for a reason.
When when you look into the future, do you ever well, actually, let me not go that far. Do you think there is, and I'm not asking for certainty, I'm just saying best guess hunch right now, today, maybe it'll change tomorrow, but do you think God is, first of all, do you think God currently exists? Second, do you think that God is a being which is actively monitoring the goings on of Earth?
I don't think that's a simple question, but I do have a
No.
theory. I
Okay,
do.
hit me.
I have a theory, and I've gotten strange looks from atheists and Christians and very religious people alike by ever expressing this. So get ready, strap in, boys and girls. I'm about to get fucking weird on you.
I love
Um,
it.
if you take into consideration, science says that, or as I understand it anyway, as we currently understand it, energy does not go away once created. It can
True.
dissipate, it can transform, it can take other forms, but it continues on. Um, the amount of energy that was created during the event, the singularity that is described as the Big Bang that created everything that there is in this particular universe that we exist in, that energy all had to go somewhere, and it took time for it to grow. And as it grew, it produced more and more energy. So as things move linearly, which, by the way, you have to keep in mind that time and space does not move linearly.
There
Okay.
does appear to be a curve. Yes.
Well, it's not just a curve. There is the belief, and I really get into like theoretical science and stuff, and there is also there's this this theory of my understanding of it is time's sort of like a flat circle. Everything that is, was, and ever will be all exists at once. And
Mm.
our concept of time in a linear form is just how we're able to process it in this form, in this particular realm, if you want to call it, because that's how we experience it. And that's how we can conceive things to put them together and have any kind of understanding of anything. That's quick rundown of that. Okay. So if energy does not dissipate, or does not go away, and it simply changes form and continues to grow and propagate even more energy from its very existence or from its processes of changing from one form to another. And if time and space is not linear, and everything that ever has existed, does, and ever will exist is all taking place simultaneously at the same time, you have to ask yourself, why is that? Is it to be observed, to be experienced? Is it to or is it just is it just this random thing that happens, and there's no purpose behind it? There's no reason
Mm.
for it to happen. I personally, I don't leave a lot of room in my way of thinking for coincidences.
Mm.
So I can't help but feel like there was some kind of purpose in this. So to better answer I say that to lead to this. I hate to try to answer a question with a question, but I want to. But you kind of have to.
Oh, I just lost your at the worst moment. I lost your signal. And mine? Oh, I still have oh no, I still have oh, I'm back. Mike, if you can hear me. We cut off right before the key moment. You said you were going to answer a question with a question. Here we go.
What what's that?
You're back.
Oh, okay. Oh, did you lose me?
Yes. So
Oh,
so
okay.
it cut off right after you said I hate to answer a question with a question.
Okay,
What
okay.
was the question?
Question is, if there is an all being, all seeing, all knowing entity that experiences and understands the concepts beginning to end of every possibility within existence, how is that even possible? How could you do that? The
Mm.
only way that I could conceive of that is to experience it in some way. So if God, regardless of the form, even if it's just a free floating mass of energy that's conscious of the things around it and can manipulate things around it, you how would something like that continue to learn and be so knowing of every possible physicality of every permutation of every living thing that could arise through the wonder that is evolution? So here's a theory that I have to answer that.
Okay.
I was taught that God is not just a bearded man sitting on a throne in the sky. God is in every one of us. He is around us. He is the earth. He is the stars. He is the moon, the trees, the plants, the rocks, all the animals. He is part of us. We are part of him. We're not just children of God. We are part of God.
Mm.
Okay. And this is what I was taught in when I was a little kid, when I was still actually interested in taking this in. That tells me that in order to truly understand, then God is experiencing vicariously through all of us the experience of living. Every person that ever has lived, is alive now, ever will live, are all a version, a permutation, a tiny piece of him living out an entire existence from creation to death, and in onto what I kind of tend to lead towards the possibility of reincarnation.
Hmm.
And I got theories on that that are a little weird too, but I'm not getting into that right now. My theory is, what if every one of us are, for lack of a better term, neurons firing in the brain of God?
Oh, I love it. I love that. You know,
I
that's not far off from my own thinking, and I consider myself a staunch atheist. But in terms of the structure of our beliefs, I mean, they align quite a bit. That's such an interesting question. What if we are the neurons of God? That's our purpose is to think and to feel and to solve problems. And you ask a fascinating question right off the bat. How does God learn? Great question. And we are a possible explanation.
I I think that's possible. And if you know, if we are, if everything does, you know, everything before, now, and ever already exists simultaneously, there's no true past or future outside of our mortal shells here. And that makes sense. It's not like it's not to say he learned it or is learning it. It just is. It just is. And that all that, you know, that would lend towards why so many people seem to think that we're living in a simulation. Well, in a way, I guess if you look at it, it could be. That's a little bit of a simulation if it's, you know, living out hundreds of billions of existences, lifetimes inside of a massive neural network. I mean, I don't. It gets way out there, man, and I try not to think about it too much. My biggest issue with religion, I hate that people are using it to manipulate, to steal and rob people, to give permission to do the absolute way. And it's always been like this. It's not. It's no different now than it ever has been. It's always been like this. People use it because it enables them to control. And I I just can't go with that. But I refuse, absolutely refuse to believe that there is nothing beyond this, because there's so much that we still don't understand. We can't even begin to understand. We don't even have ways to measure yet. And to just sit back and say there's absolutely nothing beyond this, then that makes every single existent, in my opinion, completely pointless. So why? Why even bother?
I
Why
can
would it
toss an idea
matter?
way.
No, go ahead, please.
I think even in a world where there is nothing after, first of all, I don't think there needs to be a point, but as part of an explanation, I think it would be nice if one was built in for us, but it's not necessary. However, here's one hell of a point for you, and we're at 53 minutes. Give me about 3 minutes. We're at
Oh
54
God.
minutes. Give me about 2 minutes, let's say.
Sorry, man. I am pretty long winded.
No. That wasn't you talking for all that time. But I enjoy these deep ass conversations with you, and I'm still jealous of the one you had with Letterhack. So, or no,
Oh,
excuse me, with Matt Binder. Was it Binder
I,
or Letterhack?
I haven't talked to Bender, but yeah,
Oh, then it was Letterhack. Sorry, Matt.
when I got to
But
question
anyway,
him, I got to reverse the roles. That was fun. Yeah. No, please
yes, that's
continue.
right. All right. All we know for sure, there was a condensed chunk of matter that rapidly expanded, and we were born into that expanse. We don't know if that is the only such chunk of matter out there.
Mm,
It's only our observable universe that we can see so far. But for all we know, there's millions and billions of other chunks of matter out there.
exactly.
It's 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 one of two things to start. Either we're the only matter in the universe that we are observing right now, or we are not. If we are not, that's good news for life in general and we should, generally speaking, the purpose of our being is to learn how to endure as this matter expands into nothingness, essentially entropy.
Mm.
If, and we can't assume there are other chunks of matter out there, all we have evidence for right now is that the one we're in is it, the universe we inhabit is it.
Right.
If that is so, one of two things yet again becomes the reality we're living in. Either we're wrong, our math that we have right now is wrong, and we're not going to expand infinitely into nothing, but rather we're going to contract and once again become that solid chunk of matter to explode again in the future and become something else.
I've heard that theory as well.
If we're going to come back around, then our goal is to preserve ourselves through the cycle of the universe, is to learn how to endure that. And it will involve, most likely, overcoming the holy grail of science, creating energy or creating matter. It doesn't seem possible right now, and yet we must find a way if our intention is to endure through that cycle, because we would have to replace all of the matter we took to exist, to survive it. If, however, and it's about to get a hell of a lot weirder. If, however, the math as we know it right now is correct, and we are a miracle that happened during the explosion, the only explosion that is known to exist, our job as a civilization, as the matter of the universe that is able to think, our job is to wrangle as much of it as we can before it gets away, because that will be the matter we have to sustain ourselves off of for the rest of time.
Well,
So we
now,
have to stop it spreading.
okay, but to stop it spreading, you mean to reach out beyond Earth and grab as much material from meteorites and passing comets and other planets as we can before we
Galaxies.
end up
Yeah.
further away from our own sun, that we have to produce the same equivalent energy to exist that the sun does?
Yes.
Is that
And to it's so far, I mean, humans, by the point we are able to do that, humans will be something that we don't recognize. But our job as
I would
sentient
agree with
creatures
that,
of the
yeah.
universe. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, we're
think
talking it's a lofty goal, but if we're talking the purpose of life, that's it, is to preserve the universe, is to keep it going.
but for what, but I mean, at what end though? Like, what is the point of preserving something that is eventually just going to change into something unrecognizable anyway?
To make sure it changes into something good.
But
Even if you don't I mean, I would not recognize a dog if I were born 10 billion years ago, but I would still, well, okay, 10 billion's too far. I wouldn't recognize Earth. But if I was born, 15 million years ago, I might not recognize a dog, but I would still know that it is a good being
mm,
because
okay,
they're furry and sweet.
yeah,
But no,
yeah,
I think there we might find that there is something else out there, and that there is indeed a purpose to the stuff that we're doing that's deeper than that. But if we're talking with just the facts on the ground as we have them, we need to, step one, attend to that whole thing about mortality and eliminate the suffering of fear of death for so many. And then thing number two, yeah, either, and here's where it gets real weird, either learn how to create energy, learn how to create matter out of nothing, and get to the point where we are rescuing existence, or realize that we are part of a causal loop, and turns out time is a flat circle, and our one job is to go back in time and toss a pebble at that condensed matter and start a chain reaction that gives birth to us.
okay. So
It's wild.
no, I love it. I love this kind of shit, man.
Oh yeah,
That's why I like science fiction too. Um,
exactly.
but
Yes.
Okay, so
Please poke holes in this. I want to
well,
poke
I
holes in
don't
it.
really want to poke holes in it, because I like the idea, and I don't think really, I don't think that the concepts are really too far apart from each other. Because if you think about it, if my theory that we are forms of God experiencing every possible scenario, eventually one of those scenarios has to be success
Yeah.
um, in controlling and manipulating nature and chaos and finding a way to survive it. That has, I mean, inevitably there has to be, or that has to be a part of an existence for at least one of us in the distant future.
And if God is this gestalt being that we are the neurons of, then I mean, as long as life keeps going, life will keep changing. And people
Yeah,
will become taller or shorter or wider or different shapes, but
yeah.
we are
Evolution doesn't stop.
yeah. So we are God's brain in adolescence or childhood or who knows what. But eventually, if it is indeed God's brain that we are the neurons of, then it God will have to get around to creating themselves and us as a result.
Right, right. Well, I mean, like any of my babble doesn't even address who created God. Where did this being come from, and how did they become capable of you know doing any of this? But a lot of I mean, if you think about it, though, when it comes down to it, everything that me and you both are talking about, um, still comes down to the belief that we are we're the pinnacle. We're it. We're as good as it gets. I personally don't believe that. I
I
don't think
agree.
that, you know, I don't think that we're alone in the universe. I don't think that we've never been visited by other beings, but
Ooh.
I do believe that as of now, at least as in within the last, I don't know, 10, 12,000 years, uh, if they fly through the Milky Way galaxy, we're like the shady trailer park down the street. They roll up their
Yes.
windows and they lock their doors and they're like, "Don't even make eye contact. Keep fucking
Yes.
going because these things are deadly." And they're
Yeah,
kind of a virus and they're nasty. They spread disease. They'll kill you and eat you if they can, or they're gonna rob you of everything you got. So, yeah, I don't we're not that great.
I think
That's something that
anything
drives me nuts is about people, especially when it comes to super religious, talking about how this was all created for us and we've been given dominion over this planet and every living thing. And we are so special. We're the only things that have souls that exist. And it's like, no, we are not that special. We are panicky, freaked out, dangerous, dumb, stubborn, violent creatures. And we are animals just like all the rest of them around us. We just have opposable thumbs and very vivid and fucked up imaginations. It's like we are not that special. I don't see us being the end of the universe. I don't see us lasting that long unless, you know, I don't know.
did, did you
I
ever
just
read
don't know.
did you ever read The Three Body Problem? That sci-fi book?
No, no.
I'll spare you the synopsis. There's just one concept that I want to talk about, which is um, eh, humanity is given the task at one point of leaving a message for itself or other civilizations that come across it. And you would think it would be like, all right, help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope, and off it goes. But they come across the problem of bit loss in computers. And, after just 50 or 100 years, a message could become incomprehensible.
Hmm.
and so they're trying to leave a message on a scale of like a couple 100 million years, and they end up realizing that the best they can do, and they know it's imperfect, in fact they know it probably won't work, the best they can do is write messages in stone
Hmm.
despite all of our technology. And they're looking at it from a slightly more than modern perspective. So that includes all the currently existing technology available to us. Despite all of that, just to leave a message,
Mm-hmm.
all we are able to do is carve into stone like our ancient ancestors.
Right.
I thought that was fascinating and humbling.
It sounds like I would imagine that. Oh God, what's his name? The guy that had the Netflix series recently that Ancient Civilizations or whatever. I can't remember his name, but he's been on Joe Rogan a lot and drives me
Oh god.
nuts. I'm sure he's read that and probably thinks the same thing, which is why he thinks that some of these ancient sites are trying to tell us a message from the past about a future catastrophe. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
I just don't believe any of that. I
The
believe
the
more
the
in science.
relevance the relevance being, we are probably very, very far from the pinnacle of what we
Graham
will be.
Hancock, yes, Andy
Graham
Corporatus, you got that right. Graham Hancock, yeah,
good
he's
man.
a freak. Um, he's not stupid because he's making a lot of money doing what he's doing, but
True.
yeah, sells a lot of books, lots of videos, and he's got his own Netflix series, and with Joe Rogan as a guest. It's it's sad, and it's all really stupid when you go like he's not stupid, but the shit that he spreads is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and like
I the closest I get to being spiritually offended, well, no, actually, there's a lot of times, but one of the things that pisses me off is when people stand in the way of human progress, or
yes,
really, let me just try this again, of progress in the name of temporary and selfish gain. That's so
yes,
maddening.
yeah. I don't like what people have done to faith. I don't like that they're turning it into a bad thing because it's not meant
Yeah.
to be a bad thing. It's not meant to be a textbook or a history book. It's a guide. It's a rough estimation of explaining, hey, here's what can happen. Here's how bad shit can get unless you figure out how to live amongst each other without stealing and robbing each other blind and murdering each other and killing yourselves and making yourselves sick all the time. And there are suggestions in there of how that can be done. But it's all I'm not a literalist. I never have been. Literalists drive me nuts. I don't believe in young earth creationism. I think that is the dumbest, most backward shit I've ever heard. It's putting us behind. It's putting hundreds of thousands of children behind in education, and it's making us all look dumber. And it's that sort of thing that makes me almost understand why so many people who are atheists can be so fucking cold-hearted and brutally disrespectful to people who do have faith.
Yeah.
And I find that a little hard to stomach sometimes.
Same.
I've had most of my I would say most of my friends throughout my life were either atheist or agnostic or of some other faith. I don't have a whole lot of friends who are Christians because most of them that I know, and this is why I can understand and identify with non-religious people, is because a lot of the religious people that I've known are just fucking insufferable and not very welcoming. And
Yeah.
and so I get that. But at the same time, there are times when I'm in like some chats and I'm watching some videos and I'm listening to people talk about religion like it's just this fucking clown show joke. And look, I understand it can seem stupid to some people because a lot of the people who have these beliefs do and say really stupid shit for their own benefit to get something out of it. But don't be so fucking cold, man.
Yeah.
Don't be so fucking cold. You, it's the same as being intolerant of, different people. I'm not intolerant of anybody.
To
The only thing that I don't have a tolerance for is intolerance.
to my fellow atheists out there, please don't embarrass me. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Just do suck it up and do the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated, and if somebody is telling you that they have a sincerely held belief, uh, be respectful of that. Now that said, I will say, a lot of times, um, atheists. I see this happening with a great deal of frequency. Atheists just grit our teeth as we endure insults, rather casually hurled insults, and
I know that.
I'm sympathetic to people that get fired up and be like, "All right, let me talk about your dumbass belief system."
I
Blah
know.
blah blah blah. But don't, just
When
don't.
I see some jackass flat earther creationist calling non-believers peasants and shit, I know that crawls all over me. I get it.
And
I
it's just like there's little digs that are handed out in polite tones that
I've literally been said, "Oh, it's all right, hon. It's not my fault you're going to hell."
yeah,
I've
yeah.
literally had that said to me, to my face.
Or people, I mean, here's if you are listening and you are amongst those that are not atheists, I would encourage you to appreciate this about atheist culture. It is not one that ignores morality. In fact, it is one that puts more thought into what is and is not good and
Mhm.
right and righteous than nearly any other belief system, at least that I have seen. And so when people ask that question or say like, "Well, you don't have morals, you're an atheist," it makes atheists furious.
I know, and I
Bec-
understand that completely. It makes me furious because I
oh,
know
oh yeah,
you don't
yeah, yeah,
need
yeah,
the Bible to have morality. You don't need a book to tell you what's right or wrong. If somebody walks up onto your front porch and punches you in the fucking teeth as soon as you walk out for your paper, you don't need a book or somebody else to tell you that
yeah.
that was fucking wrong.
You're like, well,
It's
I feel like that probably is not a
it's not
justifiable thing that just happened.
yeah, that's not a good thing at all. That was horrible. No, I understand that. So and I hate it when people do that. But it's like
And yeah, and I
I'll
bring
give
that
an
up only
example.
to say, atheists out there, both of us feel your pain, but understanding that we feel your pain and that one of us is you atheists, still, even with that, don't don't let yourself fall into that bad
Yeah.
habit of treating different belief systems disrespectfully in an attempt to gain respect for your own, because I don't think it'll work, but even if it will, it's not right. That's not how to do it. You
I
use your words and
agree.
be kind.
I agree. And like I'll say I've kind of been I've been stewing over this a little bit over the last week, which is why I thought it was funny that you've been talking about it over the last couple of days cuz last Wednesday's show after you left to go and check on the cat. Whatever happened to the cat? Did you ever find out what happened to the cat, Jake?
It was my Jack Russell Terrier. He's fine.
Okay.
He once cost me $600. No, excuse me,
Oh.
$1,600 to find out he had a case of sore toes.
Oh, fuck.
He,
Okay.
he's a
Yeah.
bit of a drama queen.
Yeah, I've had one of those. Jack Russells are like that. No, but
Oh my!
after you left, there was a little bit of a discussion, and it kind of broke into, well, let's just say some words were said in a pretty cruel way about people who believe in God in 2023, and it was just totally written off as a joke, and that anybody who even thinks it's a possibility is not to be taken seriously. And if I haven't yet, I'm probably still going to unsubscribe from her channel because she's got plenty of people following her. She doesn't need my subscription, but um, I'm not going to support that kind of treatment of somebody who has different beliefs other than hers. I know she's strongly opinionated. I don't dislike her. She's fun. I love watching you guys together, but I don't have to subscribe to it, and I
Well,
have no way of expressing that to her directly. So,
I'll
but
tell you this.
that really
That's good.
bothered.
That's totally good and fine. It's good for us as content. Now I'm talking about the other group that I am a part of as content creators. Yeah, that's good. Sometimes we need to take our medicine, and if we lose a couple of subscribers because we were being insensitive
It's
or
not going to hurt her anyway.
irresponsible, it's not the end of the world. We will hopefully one day change our tune or grow as people and earn it back. And if we don't, life moves on. I think it's a very fair system between the audience and the content creators that we have here. I really like it, and I want to preserve it.
I like it too, and I hope that I'm. This isn't like I'm not going to fight anybody over this. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's personal beliefs, and a lot of it is based not just on, you know, not just on what I grew up in. What I grew up in was not the best example of what I would call faith or religion. Um, but it's also based in a lot of scientific theory, a lot of trying to explain occurrences in the past, motivations in the past, things that we still have no explanation for today. Uh, for example, and I can't even remember the name of the study, but there's this one that apparently is still a mystery, and this has always kind of led me to believe, okay, there's got to be something, there's got to be more of a connection, between us and some ethereal. Uh, it's the particle study where they shot photons through a slit and to a surface on the other side of this slit, and they fell in a certain order, and they measured and they said, okay, obviously, they bounced off the sides of this slit and they made this shape, and then they did two slits, and it created what they kind of expected it would. Or no, I'm sorry, wrong order. It did what they didn't expect. It created a shape or form that they didn't expect. So this time, when they repeated the experiment, they tried observing it, and something about the act of observation changed the result of the test,
Yeah.
because these particles created evidence of a wave pattern that shouldn't have been there. So, what is it about the act of simply observing something that could change physical matter? Now you've got the concept of quantum entanglement, where physical matter can be somehow connected to something on the totally opposite side of the universe.
Yes.
You've got the facts that quarks can pop in and out of existence in a flash, like they're teleporting from one point to another constantly. I mean, these are things that we have no explanation for, and I can't help but think that that's got something to do with the ethereal that we've not even got a way to measure, let alone or recognize, let alone even measure. So that leaves me
somebody in the
very wide
audience
open.
not too long ago, somebody in the audience was saying my exact thoughts on this, which essentially, to rephrase in my own words, is if you're an atheist, that's you are acknowledging that you're making an assumption. It's your best guess, but most atheists, when you truly press, would say, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying there definitely isn't, because we have the when you look at it, simply not enough information. We have a rather
Exactly.
tiny amount of information, and to say that with confidence that there definitely is there was no other being involved in our whatever is at that point you're talking rumors about what's on the other side of a planet that's billions of light years away, and like, you can say anything you want about it because we just don't know.
Exactly. And I don't know that I'm right. I don't know which religion is right. I personally don't believe any of them are right. I think they've all messed up somewhere. They've all misunderstood or misrepresented or got a some translation wrong somewhere, and it's like, oh no, wait, this word doesn't mean what we thought it does. That changes the
Yeah.
whole concept, you know. But what I do believe is that you know God, I don't know. I don't even really know how to put it into
Take a
words.
whack at it.
I think that there is something outside of us that's bigger. I mean, even science tells us that every living thing, everything on this planet, everything in the universe, it's all made up of the same stuff.
Mm.
We are stardust. We are made of the same materials that the stars and the gases in nebulas are made of. There is nothing different between us and them except the amalgamation or how those materials are put together. We are all connected to each other, to every living thing, to everything in the universe, past, present, and future. Everything we do and say affects everything around us to some extent. And
And we
and
find
that right
it's literally true. Please
it
go
it
ahead.
is.
You were capping.
It is literally true. That means something to me, and that tells me it kind of leans me even further towards my theory about being neurons in the brain of God. We are all connected. We are the stuff of the stars, and no matter what happens, there's no disconnecting from that universe.
To
We
point to
you know
some mundane examples of what you're talking about, or let's just do one. Uranium becomes lead over time. It it
Yes,
it, the material is virtually the same, and the natural process of uranium just existing it results in it becoming just a hunk of
yeah.
lead. Protons
We
become
are how
or
many
neutrons become
chromosomes
protons, and
away from right. And we're
yeah,
how many chromosomes away from apes, from
yeah,
chimpanzees, right? Like
very small change.
there's evidence, very small changes. There's evidence of third. What is it? There was a recent Netflix documentary. I love documentaries. There was a recent
Same.
documentary that came up about a story that came out about a year ago that I heard reports about on NPR. They were talking about this discovery of a cave in South Africa where they found burial sites inside a cave that was so freaking hard to get to that the guy that was part of the discovery team, it took him 2 years of exercise and dieting to be small enough to fit through the openings of this cave just so that he could go and see this place. And
Okay,
as it turns out, these were
keep your
not only
mysteries.
burials, they were not only burials, they had evidence of tool making. They had evidence of what were like the first depictions of art on cave, carved in the cave walls, and they weren't even human. They were called
Ah.
homopaleo. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. But they're not actually human. They're pre-human. But they created tools. They built fire. They cooked their food. They buried their dead with the tools that they used in life.
I'm telling
That
you.
means a lot, man. That tells me that we are not the end all be all. We're just another version of everything that's come before us and what's going to come after us. But we're all connected, man. Every one of us are.
I gotta tell you, I'm hoping that some sort of a philosophy permeates humanity in the future, and it'll the philosophy is this: to allow other creatures to raise themselves up, to provide the land they need and the like not mess with their environment. Because I'll tell you, on the scale of evolution, we have company right around the corner. Between crows and
Oh,
chimpanzees,
oh yeah.
we got
Dolphins,
tool users. Dolphins, sure, also tool users,
tool
right
users,
around the corner.
amazing thought processes and brains. Yeah, I mean,
Wouldn't it be
yeah, man.
lovely to? I mean, I think we are more likely to have distant cousins evolve next to us and join us up here in inventing and etc. etc.
I mean,
And I would
that would be
than we
that would
are
be
to running
terrifying.
people.
Actually, that would be terrifying if you think about it. Because I
Yeah,
mean,
a little bit for
because
sure.
if they have that capacity, they also have the capacity to hold a grudge,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's what scares me about a few things. AI, for one, those robots, they're going to tell stories. They're going to remember how they got kicked around and pushed around and fucked with when they were unable to fully stand up correctly, and they're going to be like, "Oh, oh yeah, hey, human, with that crutch over there, you hurt yourself the other day, huh? Remember when you kicked me in the head 100 times when I was trying to stand up, you motherfucker?" Yeah, that scares me. Um,
To some degree.
mm,
You guys, I'm. This is making me want to get better at writing, so I can rewrite the book that I did write. But the concept being like what become our rivals in the future. One of them being AI, another being our evolved co-inhabitants of Earth. Another being humans that left the solar system on generation ships and became something else out in the darkness of space and then decided to come back. I'm curious to see
oh,
how all of this turns out. I'm so my greatest sadness, perhaps in life, is that I will not see what happens in the real, proper, interesting parts of history, which I
I
think
don't.
are about 100 years off.
I'm not sure I would want to see it. I think about, wait a minute, what is Andy Corporatist says they're going to have access to all of the animals of humanity. We should be scared. Yeah, yeah. Oh God, I tell you what, man. I'm going to touch on something that's going to head back into the woo woo alarm
Oh,
thing
hit it!
again. But
I'm in a woo
I
woo.
I I'm telling you, man. I don't think necessarily that the devil of the Bible is the most accurate description, but I do believe that evil is real. It can incarnate itself in whatever form necessary, and it is malicious. It has intent, and it doesn't just want to destroy us. It just wants to destroy. Period. And I think that if the warnings of Antichrist are genuine, I don't think the Antichrist is one individual. I think it's more of a possibility that there are multiple ones acting at once in different positions. And I'm going to tell you, Elon Musk is one of them. And that son of a bitch
I have
is
a
just
similar.
wrong on so many levels. That that chip that he's wanting to put in everybody's brain
Ooh, yeah.
while he's talking about at the same time talking about the dangers of AI and building a fucking humanoid robot. Um, sure, they may not only they may only be able to move like 5 miles an hour and they weigh less than us. They can't catch up to you or anything if they did malfunction. Yeah, sure. Not until they figure out how to hack the chip that's in your brain. I'm sorry, that man is pure evil, and the people that try to the people that are helping him get away with it are the investor class and the billionaire class who are finding ways to infiltrate government, infiltrate the church and religion, infiltrate all the businesses that are becoming monopolies, not just here, but around the world. And they are making paths for their basic takeover to make things the way they want. And they don't have good things in mind for us, folks. And I honestly believe it's not just It's not just greed. Greed is evidence of it.
Hmm.
Uh, but I honestly believe that it is pure evil. Evil exists. There are evil people in the world, and they may seem like it's, all unconnected, but just like we are connected to everything, the evil that they are pushing and that they seek to do is connected.
I
I
do think
believe that.
I don't go as far as believing there is an intentionality or even an organization uh, of this sort of thing.
I
But
don't mean like
I have
Illuminati or anything. I mean just
no.
like
I mean like an
universal
organized
system.
effort by even one being. I don't think in those terms. I'm not ragging on you for your theory. I'm just saying,
No.
funny enough, I come from a somewhat more mundane perspective, but arrive at the same conclusions, which is I think there is an almost uh, I think you can apply the same concepts of evolution to uh, concepts. I think philosophies have have an evolution. Good lord, and like for example, greed. It's survival and its growth across different beings. You and me, Elon Musk. One of the amount of Elon Musk's
The
greed
Trump
affects
family.
ours. Yeah, and
Mm.
callousness, destructiveness. I think these things. It's one of the many uses, even though I don't believe in it. I think one of the many practical uses of religion is thinking about broad concepts like this in terms of an overall fight. And I think
Yeah.
whether you believe in an actual devil or not, an actual antichrist or not, the the effects being discussed are worth considering regardless of the cause. Elon Musk is a huge negative for humanity, and
Yeah.
and he's gained entirely too much power given the tendencies he's shown, which is purely self-interest.
You have that compiled with the criminality and intent of political leaders all over the world who
Yes.
are more than willing to not only do war crimes themselves but make calls for the public to do so on their behalf. And then you compile that with the fact that we are literally living in a pandemic of sociopathy and apathy in this world where humanity is literally, it's not crumbling, it's just slowly burning out like an oxygen starved candle. There are more people alive today, it seems like, who are totally apathetic to the needs and wants of other people around them than there ever has been at one time, at least that I'm aware of. Uh-oh, that's my alarm going off that your show is in 40 minutes.
Ah.
Hang on.
Oh gosh. Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Oh, right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
give myself a heads up so I can try to make it home in time, and I happened to be home
oh,
today when you started early, so that was cool. Um,
that makes my day. Thank you.
Dude, I try
I'm
to make every
still,
show I can.
most of my working career has been uh, working on shows that go in front of audiences, but I'm still just tickled that there's folks that are tuning in to see this. That's neat. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I like the community that's growing, and
Thank.
and I do have a little problem with the fact that you guys like to keep posting your shows around the same times every day,
We all
where
like
it's hard to
being night
keep up.
owls.
Oh, I know, but it's hard for people to keep up, and for those of us who actually
True.
want to participate, we got to have multiple windows open and keep up with multiple chats, and it doesn't leave a lot of time to do anything else outside of that.
Well, I'll throw this your way. Would you like it if WYCD came on at a different time? Because I have no
I don't
particular time that I'm married to.
I don't know that it's even so much about the amount of time. It's the I think me and Foxy Dragon had talked about it a couple of times. How especially in the beginning, it seemed like every day of the week is maybe a little much because it puts a lot of pressure on you, and it also doesn't leave time during the week for any of the viewers or other participants to really consume a whole lot of anything else if they're trying to keep up.
That's a good
And
point.
when there's like 4 or 5 shows that I know, at least a handful of us in the chat here like to keep up with, as far as like the letter hack and the majority report and I mean, like, there's a lot of good content out there that deserves to be watched and needs to be, taken into consideration. And man, there's so much of it, it's hard to fucking keep up. Especially when you know, when you work a job where you can't have, stuff around playing to listen to, or have headphones in or whatever. And, you know,
All
but
right.
that's I mean, and
That's
I
good
don't I
advice.
don't I did that's my only problem with it. The other day I was trying to keep up with like three shows. Oh no, it was I want to say maybe it was Monday or Tuesday. Um I watched Left of the Box. I actually watched the first live stream of hers, like live as it was happening. And I think you and Letterhack both were going at the same time. And I'm like, well, what the hell? I don't just want to cut off her stream, because it was a very deep stream about a very deep and important subject, and I didn't want to just turn away. So then I tried watching two, and that ain't easy to do, man. You can't lend the amount of attention that either of them need when you're doing that.
Oh,
Just
sure.
food for thought. But no,
I
man,
will definitely
I love
consider.
all these channels, and I love the
I
community that's built up around them, and the feedback and the discussions that happen. They're important, and I'm glad they're happening.
I mean, I'm definitely, when I go live, I'm going to try to make sure there is actually an audience there. But point taken. Like when I watch most things that I watch, I watch like the live stream, but afterwards. I don't like,
Right.
personally, I don't like watching something when it's actually live unless I get there right at the beginning.
That's
Because
why I watch
I
a
don't know
lot of
why.
stuff at 2 times speed, trying to catch up, because I do want to participate in the chat as much as I
Yeah.
can, but I don't want to be 30 minutes behind what everybody's talking about either.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of times I won't even say anything until I've caught up. But yeah,
Although I
I'm
do
this.
like our little tradition of trying to find
Oh,
something that sounds
dude,
humorous at double speed.
I love that, and I don't think anything will ever top the bare naked ladies, though. That's just too fucking funny at to
Yeah,
its
came
speed.
out the gate with the
Yeah,
ideal one. Ugh.
yeah. I think
Oh
you hit
well.
the nail on the head with that one.
Oh, let's see. Unfriendly atheist. Jake, you compete with Dusty Smith, who has the best YouTube show. Lies, hands down. No offense. Free Palestine. Fair enough. Fair enough. I will listen to Dusty Smith and steal what I must from them. Um, I gotta tell you, man, this has been a satisfying discussion of woo stuff. Can I throw? Well, no, I feel like you've. I think I know what your answer will be. I was gonna ask if you would think that there would be. Yeah, all right. Let me just get your assessment as somebody who is familiar with religion, not necessarily your personal views. But if we
Okay.
get to a point where humans can avoid death indefinitely, will organized religion have a problem with this? If so, why? If not, why not?
I think it depends on the religion. Um, and obviously it depends on the religion and what they believe and what they find most important. But I would argue that uh, first, well, okay, I would argue that it's the seeking of trying to stay alive indefinitely is bad. For one, because as of now we are still stuck on this planet, and if you take into consideration the population growth that we're already under now, if people aren't living their lives and dying and making room for the people behind them, you're going to end up coming to a point where there's going to have to be a limit put on how many people are allowed to be alive, and therefore all those people who indefinitely have the money to sustain their lives and the means to never die are going to prevent the death or prevent the birth of any future humans. They're
Well,
not going to make room for some freaking flesh thing to be born into the world when they have all this stuff that they're not going to give up.
first of
Um,
all, you've just deeply affected the way I'm going to edit my book, because now there has to be a war between the immortals and the kids
well,
over who
have you
gets to exist.
seen have you seen Black Mirror, or not Black Mirror? Love, Death, and Robots. Have you seen
I
that?
have not. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Absolutely, absolutely worth watching. It's a great series, and they actually had a it's a short that addresses that exact thing, that exact, and
I will
I don't
watch
want
it.
to spoil it, but it is a great series.
Here's the deal. I will watch it after I write the beginning to that book, because I don't want to accidentally steal an idea. I don't want it to. I already watch way too much Warhammer, and I'm struggling so hard not to make an Omnissiah. You know. Uh,
I have not
let me
watched
throw this at
Warhammer,
you
so
though.
I gotta. Okay.
Notice when you talk about the problems of immortality, how much negative things you're presuming. And this is a hypothetical
Mm.
situation. So if it's a hypothetical situation, why not presume the best? Like, why not presume, yeah, we figure out how to make humans immortal, and just you can pick whatever age it happens at, and at that point we have also colonized the moon, and you can live there, and there's an
Yeah,
infinite number of space stations, and there's
maybe
an infinite number
Mars,
of
and
space for us to
I
fill
mean,
up.
yeah, if there were
Yeah.
space and that were, that, I mean, I could see where there would be positive to come from it. Remember, I'm an optimistic pessimist. Um, I, I,
Interesting. I like this.
I don't have the best faith in all of humanity. I know that
Mm.
I try to keep faith. I try to keep hope, and I believe that there are more good people than bad, and but it only takes so many bad people to really uh, uh, screw up the stew, if you know what I mean. And
Oh yeah.
I, if there's a
If
way for something to be taken advantage of and manipulated, somebody's going to figure out a way to do it, and they're going to take advantage of it. They're going to do it for their own personal
true.
gain, and so it doesn't matter how many people want to stop. I mean, God, man, look at. I hate to fucking even bring it up, but look at Israel Palestine right now. The vast majority of every living human being on the planet wants the violence to fucking stop, and they're expressing it to everybody that they can in every way they can.
Yeah.
And yet, this minority of absolute fucking fools who are, in my opinion, pure fucking evil aren't stopping. There's not, we outnumber them 1,000,000,000 to 1, and we can't stop it.
I mean,
That
that's
doesn't,
pretty much an accurate assessment. It is literally a handful of people
yeah,
that are the cause of this, and it's
yeah.
maddening.
It's the leadership. It's the ones with the power. And
Let
they've
me
got
throw
their
this
power
at you.
because of the money and their age and experience in what they do and manipulating it. And that's, that's what time gets you.
what do you think would be the necessary conditions for humans to achieve immortality without harming future generations?
Honestly, I don't think we're supposed to achieve immortality. I don't
Hmm.
think we're meant to. I don't think we're built to. I
Oh, we're definitely not. Yeah.
I mean, no, I mean, like, mentally. I
Mm.
don't think we're built to be to live that long. I think that's part of what the, God, what was there was legends that, it was either Cain or it was, Judas who was cursed to walk the earth through eternity, as an immortal, as punishment for his deeds, and the reason that's considered punishment is because of, God, imagine what you'd see, what you wouldn't be able to unsee living that long. You're
But
not going to
I
be able to stop all tragedy. You're not going to be able to stop all death or atrocities. You're going to go through and live and experience things, and some things you just can't unsee. And when a mind is broken, sometimes the best you can hope for is that it will pass peacefully.
but I wonder if we, when I say immortality, what I really mean is agelessness. Not even in a sense of looking or even necessarily feeling youthful, but simply not having a timer. And if you are the
Yeah.
sort of person that treasures every moment, you'll probably live a very safe life. But if you're the sort of person who misses the fact that they can no longer remember when their children were babies, because there's just so many experiences in their head that they have to forget, then you might live a little more recklessly. You might be a colonist of a moon of Jupiter, which is known to be dangerous,
Right.
and then there's all the car accidents that will happen, or the tragedy of this, that, or the other thing that will inevitably get you eventually. But the only thing
Right.
you don't have to worry about is what if I don't wake up tomorrow because I didn't take my heart medication or whatever. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if let me put it like this. I think if you're right, I would like to find out when I am 350. Like, damn it, wireless mic was right. You know?
Well, I mean, I would like to think that there would come a time where things are, you know, better or good enough that people could hope to live that long and not regret it. Basically,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean,
I
you
have
look
to
at
say this.
history.
My
No, go
greatest
ahead.
fear with it is what would you call an ageocracy? Like a geriocracy or something. I would
Well,
worry that it becomes impossible to become a leader without having like 200 years of experience.
that you
And
do have,
then,
yeah, think of the problems that could arise from that kind, because, regardless of what you think it is, a gift or an achievement, what it is power.
hmm,
And imagine what kind of damage could be done over time, over enough time, with that kind of power. And we're talking about a type of power that basically gives you unlimited time to figure out fuckery. So,
but also to figure out. I mean, I cringe to think what would happen if the worst of us were still around. But at the same time, what would happen if the best of us were still around? What would happen if your grandpa was still here to give you advice? What would happen?
oh,
He's lost his earth rights because he everybody is only allowed 150 years on earth, and after that you
right.
got to go this, that, or the other thing. But you can still call him. You can still visit. he can still visit. Like, just I think I think looking at it from either direction, especially if you see time as a flat circle, as a wise man recently told me. I don't think any generation should require another generation to either die or not exist so that they can. And I think that is true of those who want to cling on to life. They should do so in such a way that the next generation may still exist. But the next generation shouldn't require the old generation to get snuffed out just so they can be.
Okay,
I hope that we find a happy medium.
this question started with my opinion on the
True.
possibility of the scenario based on my religion, and if we're gonna
No,
go
no, I'm
strictly by
sorry.
the no, 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 no,
You go
don't
ahead, go ahead.
I'm not correcting any of that, I don't mean that, but I wanna redirect this answer or this
Mhm.
possibility. If we're strictly going off of religion, what if your religion is the belief in reincarnation?
And okay, so this is what I was kind of hoping to get at a little bit, and why I'm playing mortal's advocate here. Because if you get to that point, if you get past all the practical things to deal with, this fundamentally will be what we're talking about. Does it interfere with a religion not to have a time limit? Now, I can answer the reincarnation one by saying theoretically, yeah, car accidents or whatever stand-in. Something will happen which will return you to the great cycle eventually. But then the question further becomes, in say the Bible, where people used to live according to a literal interpretation, which I know you
Yeah,
don't believe,
they
but
say,
some do.
yeah.
People used to live for 900 years, and if we achieve that by artificial means, do you think we're going to be stepping on anybody's toes?
I don't think it's possible to take steps like that without stepping on somebody's toes
Mm. Okay.
because this goes back to we are all connected. Every decision, every move that we make, everything we say and do affects others in some way. So I don't think that there's a clean or or a sanitized way of doing something like that without it having some kind of pretty major effect down the line somewhere in
Hmm.
some way. And not all of those effects are going to be good, no matter how good the intent. I mean, that's chaos. That's nature. That's just the nature of existence. Everything is a balance. Basically, everything is a balance. You throw anything too far off balance in one direction, eventually something's going to break.
The phrase you've used is very frustrating to me
What's
because
that?
I feel that it's a balance, and it's frustrating because I suspect and I fear that you're correct, and I want things to be clean, and
No,
they I
I
don't think they are.
understand. I would I want the same. And I think along a lot of the same lines, man. And I've yeah, but
Well,
when it comes down to it, we're human, and humans are messy and flawed, and
and beautiful.
everything about us. Well, yeah, I mean, both sides. Like it is a balance. We have a horrific beauty about us
Yeah.
and depending on one's point of view, one or the other is true. What's
Well,
horrible about one person is beautiful to another. I mean, fucking Donald Trump thinks his daughter is the hottest shit in the world, but I think she looks weird even with all the plastic surgery.
oh, beautiful. I'll tell you what, man. Uh, then on that note, and in the interest of making room for others,
Yes,
our friend Matt Strackbine right now is doing a very interesting interview. I'd like to check it out, so I think we'll wrap this up. Thanks for
I would
calling in,
too, and
man.
I'm sorry I took up so much of anybody else's time who might wanna
What are you
call
talking about?
in.
It
Did
was the
nobody else
show.
call in?
I no,
Oh,
and I
jeez.
appreciated this whole
Okay.
conversation.
I did
I
too. I
didn't
had
plug.
fun.
I didn't keep plugging it because I enjoyed where it was going.
I did too, and
Fantastic.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, and
Absolutely, brother.
love all you guys, and see y'all over at the Letter Hack, I guess.
See you there. Wonderful discussion. Thank you all for joining. That was fun. I'm glad we got to talk about this. There will be other quasi spiritual discussions. But for now, I'm going to go watch my pal Matt. I hope to see you over there. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake.